So a lot of people have been asking me lately, Josh, what did you do with my kidney? What they haven't been asking me is, hey, do you know any cool ways to handle the bass on the Chapman stick? So I figured I'd lay it down and show you a couple of ways that I found to handle the bass side on the Chapman stick. So if you play the Chapman stick, then you're probably pretty aware of the range. From here to here. I counted that out, it's like 6 octaves. Anyway, if you're playing it in a band, chances are you're going to be the bass, again because of the range. Now that doesn't mean that you're not going to be playing chordal stuff or lead stuff, but your main role in a band context is probably going to be the bass. Which is sweet because, along with the drummer, the bass is kind of the most important part of a band. That being said, I'm going to show you some techniques that I've figured out that are bass-only techniques for the Chapman stick. The first technique that I'm going to show you is the most obvious. It's what the instrument was designed for. It's tapping. And this is great because, you're doing one thing with one hand and you can have a drink or, God forbid, even play something with your other hand. So if that's not the thing to do at the moment, you can take your other hand and put them both on the bass. You can also really start to take advantage of the range of the Chapman stick. Two hands on the bass can also be chords and a line. Now, when I say chord and line, it can be a little bit misleading because I'm not actually playing a chord, I'm really just playing 2 notes. But if they're the right 2 notes, you can actually hint very strongly at chords, like if they were the flat third of the flat 7th of a minor chord, you could then play the root and whatever else you wanted to after the root in your other hand. Now, there's a couple of different ways to approach scales on the bass side of the Chapman stick. One is linearly, or horizontally down the neck, like so. And the other is vertically, or in one place across the strings. Playing vertically causes really neat octave displacement due to the tuning of the bass side. Check it out. In the next clip, I'm going to play a section of the D major pentatonic scale in both the treble side and then the bass side. Neat, right? Now I'm going to play them together. Same notes, same shape. But because of the tuning, like I said, it gives you really cool octave displacement. This is great for unison licks between both your hands. I've also heard it said that it's difficult to play linear lines horizontally on the Chapman stick. Now, I disagree. I mean, sure, the skips are bigger. But, just like anything else, if you practice it out, it will become easy. Now, of course, it's going to be really cool when you mix the two, like so. Alright, now let's break that bass line down. I started in one spot, vertically, with a groove. Then when I switched to the F, I stayed vertical. Then I moved on to a horizontal line over the E7. And then back to the A. With a little bit of a horizontal line in there as well. Now, playing horizontally is really neat because it provides with a lot of opportunities to just add that little nuancy stuff that, as my teacher Steve Adelson says, really brings out the musicality of music. For example, in that E7, I did this. And I know it doesn't seem like much, but what I'm doing is I'm starting with the E and then moving to the D. But instead of just letting it be dry like so, I'm actually starting at the E, sliding upwards, and then landing on a lower note before traveling through the rest of the line. So that's pretty much it for what I figured out in terms of tapping on the bass. But there's still a lot of different ways to express yourself that really isn't tap-based. One thing you could do is actually ape upright technique. Now this takes away a lot of the harshness of the tapping sound, which is really great for, a quieter moment or, kind of really going for that imitating a real bass sound. So what I'm doing is I'm taking my thumb and placing it on the edge of the bass side and then just really taking my finger over and plucking. Another technique you can use is the thumb mute. So I'm taking my thumb and placing it and leaving it right there. And obviously you're going to wind up with this kind of palm muted, or rather thumb muted sound. This is another great technique to use for really quiet moments that have this kind of very delicate texture to them. In the totally opposite direction, I've been playing around with a little bit of slap. You take your thumb and you just kind of smack it on the strings. I find it works best for the big center string. Alongside that, I've been playing around with a little popping. To kind of get that together, you slap with your thumb kind of out like this, and then you got to turn your hand in to pop. Obviously, this is a much more aggressive sound than just the regular tapping. The last technique that I want to talk about is one that I'm actually going to do an entire video on itself, because you can get really in depth with it. This technique is harmonics. The basics of it are that you tap a note, which is called your fundamental, and you take a free finger, and lay it over the 5th, 7th, or 12th frets. Not pressing down, just very lightly over it. And depending on which fret you choose, you'll get a different harmonic out of it. When I say the 5th, 7th, or 12th frets, I mean off of the fundamental. So, if this is on the 2nd fret, the 5 frets away from that are going to be 7. 7 frets are going to be the 9th fret, and 12th frets are actually going to be the 14th fret of the Chapman stick. So those are the techniques that I've discovered. There's always more to discover. The instrument is like a puzzle box. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Hellraiser, but in that movie, you solve a really crazy puzzle box and it releases a bunch of demons that kill you. With the Chapman stick, you don't ever really solve it, but every time you discover something neat, it just sounds really beautiful. Anyway, the instrument is a baby, and there's a lot of discovery to be done. It's 38 years old, which is, like I said, an infant in music terms. And there's just different ways of playing it that nobody's even thought of yet. These are just a couple of techniques and ideas that I've come across in my exploration. So, thank you for watching, and keep exploring. One last thing. Make sure to mix and match these techniques. Take the upright technique and, slip in some slap and pop, or take the two-handed tapping technique and slip in some harmonics. And that way you'll get a very broad and versatile playing style, and you'll really be able to play anything that you want to.